Hello, everybody, and welcome to Coping with Donald on Sunday, February 8th. Today, I want to talk about Trump Derangement Syndrome, TDS. Trump Derangement Syndrome is a phrase that's been coined by the far right in order to say that everything that a liberal or even left of center person says is nonsense because they hate Trump so much they have Trump derangement syndrome. It's my argument that the people on the far right have Trump derangement syndrome, not the people on the far left, and I'm here to make that argument. Before the election, a lot of people said Trump will end checks and balances in our government. And we were told, you have Trump derangement syndrome. We were told that Trump will squash free speech. Now, of course, that was prepared a long time in advance because the far right said that they had no free speech. I guess they never turned on Fox News, but uh, when we said that Trump would try to take away free speech, we were told we have Trump derangement syndrome. We said that Trump will uh, decrease our standing in the world. He will paint us in a bad light, and he will attack our relationships with our allies. We were told we had Trump derangement syndrome. We said that he will make the economy harder for people of limited means. And we were told we have Trump derangement syndrome. Let's go over those things. Trump will end checks and balances, not Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Well, he ignores Congress, and Congress, worse, with the slight Republican majority, ignores themselves. They have taken themselves out of the equation. They don't challenge him. If anybody says anything bad about him in any way, that's a Republican, he will threaten him or her with a primary. He threatens judges. He threatens schools. He threatens Olympic athletes. Well, he didn't threaten them. He just said he's really disappointed in them. But he does threaten judges. He threatens cities. He threatens blue states. I'm going to cut off this funding. I'm going to do this, even though he gets more from blue states than he sends to them, but which is kind of funny. We're going to send ICE down to your city because we don't like such and such. And even if he doesn't have a real such and such, he'll make it up. Just like the whole thing with Venezuela. We'll say it's all fentanyl. We get a lot of fentanyl from Venezuela, so we're going to get rid of your leader. Which, by the way, as everybody else notices, I was not enthralled with Maduro either. But to take away Maduro and then put his vice president in charge and keep the policy towards Venezuelans the same while we take their oil is not exactly productive or friendly. All right, free speech. He tries to interfere with nephews. He tries to interfere with broadcast networks and tell them what they can and can't put on the air. He sues them to no end to get free speech off the air. So only pro Trump opinions are shown. The thing with Jimmy Kimmel was a complete joke. He tries to censor schools and they bow down to him. Oh, you don't protect Jews enough. And he sues them, and you have too much DEI. I think you have too many black people working for you. What kind of president does that? He tells America who to hire. He interferes more in business than any president in my lifetime. He threatens the relationships with our allies. Trump derangement syndrome. He threatens invasions. Mexico to get the cartels. Venezuela to stop the fentanyl. Cuba. Iran. All those nuclear weapons. I want to tell you something really quickly. I remember when I worked for the post office, I was, the last 6 years I spent in one place. This was before that because I remember in the lounge, people would come down waiting for their mail in some of the buildings and they would complain, "Oh, Ron, they're going to bomb us next week." This was around, it had to be 2014, 2015. 11 years ago, in Iran, who was going to bomb us next week, never bombed us. Okay? Um, oh, he insults Canada to no end. You're going to be the 51st state. Apparently, there was a news story that there are some influences going into Alberta, which is slightly, if Canada's far right somewhere, it's in Alberta. And they're trying to convince them to break away from Canada in order to weaken Canada. That's kind of interference, don't you think? The Greenland thing is a joke. He threatens, he uses tariffs as weapons, and now there are hints that he is going to send money, I don't know, through Musk, through our government, through our taxes. I have no idea. Through the donations that he gets for ballrooms and crap. He's going to send money to try to elect more far right leaders in Italy. In Italy, I'm sorry. They are kind of far right. But more far right leaders in Europe. Now, I just want to say that Europe is a wonderful showcase for how countries can have the free market, help people who need help, and try to better society through green energy, through education for all, through medical care for all. Sure, they pay more in taxes, but if you add up your insurance premiums and bills for your children's college, add that into your taxes and you'll find out how high your taxes go in this country. You're paying a lot more of your income than you would in Europe. You don't have to go through a gatekeeper for health care either. Okay, he will make the economy harder. Oh, to finish that last point, if he takes away all the countries that can demonstrate that this is possible and fruitful for the population, and we only have dictators all around the world, let's notice how he's not that enthusiastic about Ukraine trying to fend off Russia. We only have dictators across the world. We won't even have an example to look at. So we wouldn't know any better, would we? We said he'll make the economy harder for those who have been left behind. Well, he's put in a big tax decrease for the rich, which, by the way, has widened our deficit while cutting our social programs. So we don't have the government nearly involved in as many social programs as they should be, but we're having a bigger and bigger and bigger deficit. So much for balancing the budget, huh? Trump said in the 1980s that he would have no problem wiping out the national debt. It was only $3 trillion then. But then again, our gross domestic product and the amount that the government took in taxes was far less than today. Or maybe not. But he was going to get rid of it. And I think the amount was $3 trillion. I think our budget deficit this year is going to be $3 trillion in the coming year under Trump. But we have Trump derangement syndrome. We don't have Trump derangement syndrome because everything that we warned about is happening. He screwed up the economy with tariffs. He is brutalizing the country with fear with his ICE maneuvers. It's not as much about getting immigrants out, guys, or the criminals. It's about normalizing the procedure with which government can knock down your door, tell you you shouldn't have a gun, all those things that you were worried about all those years because of Biden or because of Obama. And they're not happening under them. They're happening under Trump. That is not a derangement syndrome. That's what's happening. So, Trump supporters, I gotta tell you, when he says the economy is A plus 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 plus, and you just accept that. Oh yeah, it is. Sure. Okay. When he says we're the hottest country in the world, when he says we have the respect of the rest of the world, that's not true. The rest of the world's probably afraid. It's not respect. When he says all these things, and you agree with him, you have Trump derangement syndrome. Because whatever he does, you will look more at what he says and believe it. He says his polls were never better. And actually, he's polling at his worst approval rating ever, including the first term. You are willing to believe him for some sort of unknown why love of him. And ignore the facts, let alone his opinions. You have Trump derangement syndrome. Because maybe you like the racism part of it, or maybe you like the way that if a woman asks him a tough question, let's say on the Epstein files, and he tells her, you should smile more. I should smile more when I'm talking about sexually abused children? Really? Or he just says, oh, you're really stupid. You know that? You're a stupid reporter and a bad reporter. And where do you work? Such and such. Oh, they're a bad network. They're the worst. No, Trump. You're the worst. You're the worst president. A recent survey showed that people think Biden was a better president than Trump is right now. So you're the worst president. You're the worst businessman. You're the worst father. You're the worst human being on the planet. There is nothing, and maybe even the worst criminal. There's nothing that you're good at or decent about. And the people that support Trump have Trump derangement syndrome. Have a good day.